Welcome to the New Monks. This podcast is dedicated to those of us on the journey of evolution. Through these episodes, we will dive into the lives of individual people and discover what they have learnt and how they have handled their growth. We believe that we all have wisdom to be shared with each other and can learn from listening to each other's stories. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you feel like leaving us a review and sharing the love, that would be greatly appreciated. So this is just a heads up because, there's a lot of information that is coming to light at the moment, and through these episodes, each person is going to share a different side of that for them. Now, this isn't to say that every single thing that is shared here is going to be 100% accurate, It's just not where we are right now. It's just not the case of the unraveling and the disclosures that are being revealed to us. Obviously, things are always changing, and in one moment something can be so real and so true, and the next moment is completely shifted and changed into something else. This is the journey of evolution. This is the journey of ascension that we are going through right now. So this is just an invitation that your discernment is really, really important. As always, as usual, please take what resonates and leave the rest. Thank you. Welcome to the New Monks. In today's episode, I'm speaking to Anugrah, who I met recently on an organic farm, and she shares her journey hailing from West Bengal, growing up in the maternal tribal lineage and learning lots of wisdom from this heritage, and then later recognizing how important that was and how sacred that knowledge is in this time of our human story. And she also spent a very short time in Calcutta, in a city, until she found herself on Vandana Shiva's farm. And she spent 10 years living there. And then she has now moved on to share this wisdom and knowledge with other people and, sow the seeds when it comes to organic farming. So I hope you enjoy this episode.
I don't know, last time when we were at the farm and we were talking about how, um, about this time frame for women on having children. And I had mentioned that I
Yeah.
want to have children and I want to encourage women to have children if they want to, but only if they're ready. And not in a ready for their just a financial or support system, but also when you bring a child into this world, what kind of world we are really providing them, and that has been my biggest fear. I'm going to love that child, I'm going to care for that child, I want to protect that child, but what if we create a world that we don't need protection, you know not just for children, for women, for men, anybody. So what if we create a world or just be part of that community where everyone is loved and cared for, and compassion and kindness is just another word because they experience that in every day of their lives. So those are the things that we were talking about last time, but then it came to me in a way, like, because I worked at the farm and an NGO, Navdanya, and for 10 years I worked as not just as an organic farming trainer, but as well as a very big support system for children as well. And my interest has always been working with children and kids. And, for me, I started working as teacher because I thought knowledge is a very powerful tool. And I left education system because I think that knowledge is a very powerful tool. And that kept me thinking that what kind of education system we are talking about, and what are we learning? as an individual, as well as what are we teaching, and how are we teaching? Those were the questions that kept on coming to me in everyday life, because I wasn't happy
Mm,
the way I was teaching, or I wasn't happy the things that I was teaching. And
yeah.
that was something I feel like, as you grow older, as you become an adult, you start taking that responsibility on yourself, especially you think not like normal people. That's
Yeah.
how we are right now. We are considered as not normal people. But I'm happy to be called not normal and to
Yeah,
create.
I love
Yes.
that you say that not normal is the biggest difference is the taking responsibility part. It's
Yes,
good.
yes. Yeah, I don't want to be part of a rat race. I don't want to be a competition. I don't want to
Yeah,
be part of somebody else's competition. And
yeah,
I want
100%.
to be, yes.
Before we begin, because I
Hmm.
like to just take a few breaths, but that was a nice little overview of, I think, what you're going to be talking about and what we'll be sharing. But yeah, thank you so much for being here and yeah, wanting to share your story. And we had a little chat when we met on the farm, and yeah, I was also really intrigued because you've been in the organic farming scene for a very long time now and from a very young age. So I'd love to just hear about how and why and how that unraveled and working on Vandana Shiva's farm as well for 10 years, which is such a long time as well.
Yes,
But
yes. It was, see, this is the knowledge I was talking about. That is that kind of knowledge that I want to learn, and I want to be able to teach or share, or, have other people experience, because that's kind of a knowledge that I feel like most people don't have access to. For 10
yeah,
years,
so
being able to live in an organic farm and learn from a woman who have done so much for the country and for the world. We wouldn't have so many laws in India if it wasn't for Dr. Vandana Shiva.
for her, that's mad. If it wasn't for
Exactly.
the women,
Yeah, if it wasn't for the any the patent act, like most of the country, like the seats, we fought against many multinational corporations. We have done many, many, many,
yes,
many activism and protest and a lot of legal stuff. That is not, that kind of opportunity is not given or not provided to most of the people, but it is the kind of topic that everyone should have knowledge about.
knowledge,
Like,
yeah, definitely.
I come from a place where it's happy and nice, and everyone is happy in their own life, and but as soon as they came out of my comfort zone, I moved away from home, then I started seeing things in the real world. That's kind of
Yes.
shook me. It shook me to
Okay.
my core, thinking that my happy bubble will not be there, in near
Okay.
future. And it scared me. And that's
So
how my
just
journey began.
yeah,
Yeah.
before we begin, if we could just take a few deep breaths and then you can unravel.
Yes.
So how are you feeling right now?
Um, that's a really big question. That's big and very, it's a very simple question, but um, and I feel like there is not a single one sentence answer to that. So I'm not gonna lie and say I'm feeling good. So yes, I feel, first I feel honored to be in this platform, that I'm grateful that I got to meet you. And um, I appreciate my surrounding. So there's appreciation in the well. And yes, that's how I feel. Today I'm
Love
full
that.
of gratitude. Let's just say today I'm full of gratitude.
Yes, nice. Thank you. There's also appreciation here as well in the well.
Yes.
So, yeah, I was interested in what you were saying about coming out of the bubble. But yeah, I guess it would be cool to start way back. So you are from up north India, right?
Yes. I'm from
And
West
this
Bengal, from the
West.
mountainside, Kalimpong.
And so you told me that it's a village that you live in, right?
Yes, it's a small hometown you can't even see on the map. It's a very tiny hometown. Yes. Yes.
And so, yeah, so just relating to what you were saying just now about leaving the bubble,
Mhm.
you're specifically talking about your hometown,
It was a start.
or
Yes, that was a start. I think that was
uh,
the first step in my personal growth. Yes.
mm. And then when did that happen?
That happened almost 11 to 12 years ago. Yeah, when I was probably 19.
And where did you move to? The city, straight to
I
the
moved to
city.
a city in Calcutta, which is a very busy city, but a very lovely city. And I didn't live there for a very long time. After that, I moved to Dehradun, where I'm currently at. And this place just has my heart. So I'm still here after so many years. Yeah.
Okay, so where you are now isn't where you were like born. No,
No, no. I'm
it's a
from
bit.
West Bengal, which is like northeastern or um, eastern side of India. Right now, I'm in
Uh-huh.
Dehradun, which is in Uttarakhand. Yeah.
Oh, when we spoke before, I thought that yeah, same place. But anyway,
Yeah.
so so why did you go to Calcutta, and how did you end up where you are now?
So I went to Kolkata to look for work because I always believed that I'm the only daughter and I'm the only child. And I just had this feeling that I was meant for more. I didn't realize what more was then, but I knew that it was not confined to the tiny place with people I knew, with the comfort I knew. I felt in my gut that I needed to go somewhere that was more challenging. It was an experience where it was more fruitful to me. So that's when I decided to leave home at the age of 19 or 20. So that's when I moved to Calcutta, and for 6 months, I was trying to find a job. And you know how, like, small town girl goes to a big city, you start to see the different sides of people, things that you didn't
Mm,
realize that were possible, and the challenges and the struggles. That's when it started. And even though I was in the city, I craved for community. I
mm,
was I craved for people who would understand what, because I wasn't just looking for a job. I was looking for a job that was would make me happy or make me at peace or give me content. You know, it was not 9 to 5 job. I was just trying to help people. And yeah, and it ended up me I ended up finding love of my life in Calcutta, and I'm still with that person. and, and he is the reason who got me to Dehradun and gave me the opportunity to expose to this uh, big
okay.
world.
So how did you meet him? Was it? Did you find a job there in Calcutta in the end?
Oh, I did find a job in Calcutta, but it was not the kind of job that I was happy about. So it was those
Yeah.
typical 9 to 5 job where I was not really happy. But found him. Actually, I think we both found each other through my best
Mm.
friend and his sister. So that's how we got to meet each other. And since then, we are here.
And that was a friend in Calcutta, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then did you do some studying before you left, before you came to Calcutta?
So I was doing, so my education background is very different from what I did and now what I've been doing. So I have a master's in English literature. So it's very, very, very different from uh, what I've been doing for past 10 to 11 years. But I think for me to choose this
Yeah.
work life or this path is partly because of from where I come from. My mother, from my maternal side, she is a tribal, and I grew up with my maternal family. So there was a lot of tribal knowledge that was passed on to, and there was a lot of generational indigenous methods that were passed on to us. And at that moment, I didn't realize how important it was, but now I just know how important it is.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. I love it when people say that. It's because I feel like you can really feel it, you know, it just
Yes,
travels down the lineage. And it's
yes,
just so cool. And I'm just so intrigued, like what kind of things. And you say you kind of you didn't know what it was. But then in that way, because of that, I feel like it stays there, you know, you stay with it until later. It's like,
yes, exactly. That's exactly what happened to me because when it was there, I was like, okay, maybe this is normal. Like everyone in that place or every household has that. But now when I actually think about it, it's just like I was such um a blessed person to be able to learn and experience all these things because not everyone has that opportunity or has gotten that privilege. I call that a privilege. I call that as a blessing because now, because it's disappearing and it breaks my heart, but I'm doing my part to keep it the way it
yeah.
is. And this is where the community role comes in for me.
So so did you do the masters? Was this before you went to Calcutta?
It was during I was doing my
Okay, got it.
yeah.
So this was something you thought that maybe you would be going down, like something to do with English and
You see, like in India, I can't speak for everybody else, but for me and my family
uh-huh.
and our household, it's very typical Indians. So as soon as you're born, your name, your school, your college, your education, what career and who you're going to marry, it's all set. So so it's all like, okay, so this person is going to be named this, and this person is going to study this, and this person, it's all set. So somehow I managed to break through that by,
Really?
yes, it was also a very different challenge for me because it was not very welcomed. That idea of me leaving home at that early age because there was a lot of thought, and that time, 10, 12 years ago, small village,
Mm,
small town, hometown people, they believe in what they see in news and media. And most
yeah.
uh, one concern was if I was going to get raped, kidnapped, and killed. So, so that was something that people were afraid of. So I
So
had to break.
normally, yeah, so you would only leave if you were gonna get married, right? Or something. But you
Yes,
left single.
yes, I live single, very much. Yes.
I love
Yes.
So also, I love what you said earlier that you know you knew you were here for something more because I feel like this is something that so many of us felt from a young age, but didn't know what that more was. But we'll get into that a bit later. But um,
Mm-hmm.
what? How did you know that you wanted to break free from this mold? How did that feel for you at the time, and how did you do it as well? Like just
I
leave.
feel like I feel like, there's just I listen to my gut feeling a lot, and it's something it's not, I don't know if it's a scientific or what it is, but I've always listened to my gut feeling, and I've I've always taught to pray, and I still do. And my faith, my belief, and what I pray to or whom I pray to is very, very personal to me. And and because I have this maternal family from the tribal side, which we are the worshipper of nature. We worship universe.
Mm,
Not even a single thing you know in this universe that doesn't have the energy. Everything moves, everything is living, everything has its own vibrations. So if you connect to we are part of if we connect to the fact that we are also part of this nature, the nature starts to speak to you, your own gut feeling, small microbes starts to speak to you. And I think for me that has been the biggest um, uh, guidance. If I feel my
mm,
intuition tells me that I should go for it, it scares the shit out of me, to be honest. Most of the time, I'm scared, I'm afraid, and I just feel like, what if I end up being wrong? But at the same time, the same intuition tells me that even if you're wrong, there's nothing wrong with it. You have to move on. Like, I wouldn't know if it's wrong until I do it. Or, so I just go for it. Like, and plus, like I said, I have my faith in not just the universe but in myself also. I think that's what, and my experience that most of the people they lack is that they're afraid to see what's on the other side if it's
yeah,
not good.
I love that.
So I
The thing
think
is, so it's quite young for you to have that, I think, because I understand what you're saying, but that's quite a young age to have such trust in yourself,
yeah, it was, but
especially when you're going against status quo.
yes, but I did go. See, that's the thing, like I did go, and my family
And
was
so,
against it. Every older elder people in my family was against it, and I live in a joint family, and everyone was scared for me. And I understand where they come from. I understand their love, and their fear was valid. But I also understood that that same fear was not my fear. So I didn't have to overcome for them. It was for me to overcome my own fear, which was I was scared. I needed some support. I needed someone to tell me that it's okay, you can do it. And fortunately, my mother was there to tell me that.
oh wow, your mother.
Yes,
So she,
yet it took time to convince her, but eventually I did convince her, and she did understand where I was coming from. So, it is a hard journey. Like, not everything is going to be sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes you have to walk through thorns, and it's okay.
yeah, and it's okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You had your mom.
Yes.
Um, so what, like, how did you convince her? I'm so intrigued because sometimes people can be very stuck in their beliefs, especially parents.
Yes. They So my mom was a teenage mom, and she was 15 years old when she had me. So she was very young, and when I spoke to her at that age, when I was also 19 years old, and I was trying to explain to her, give reasons and this and that, and all I could tell her, I don't know what exactly convinced her, but I threw everything that I had. I was like, it'll make me happy. Happy. I'll be safe. You don't have to worry about. I'll call you 4 times a day. Everything that I had in my book, I just threw at her. So, and at the same time, I asked her, like, I do not want to waste my life being nobody.
Mm.
and to be
Mm.
19 years old and to
Yeah.
say that I do not want to be nobody was, I think, was pretty big deal for her, because she also went through her own journey. And
Yeah.
so maybe that she could relate to some certain things that I was telling her. So maybe that those were the things that convinced her. I'm not really sure. Thank you for
Yeah.
bringing it up, because after this, I'm going to call my mom and ask her what really made you.
I was just thinking that, like, I would want to know, like, what was happening, you know?
But I think it's a courage as well.
But
I feel like,
sorry, say again.
I feel like it also has to do with the courage. And I
Courage.
was
Yeah.
scared. I was scared. But also, I knew this is what I needed. That was
Yeah, yeah,
exactly
yeah.
what
So
I needed.
did you call her 4 times a day?
Actually, I did. I did. I did.
Yeah.
I keep promise to her. Yes. Yes.
And then did it over time get less? Or
No, we
it's
do
fine.
still talk. We still talk. Not 4 times,
Yeah.
but even if it's like an
Yeah, yeah.
ref one time, but we still talk for hours. So it makes up for 4 times.
Yes. So, and then what about when you met your current partner? Was that also outside of the, you know, the prescribed that's supposed to happen?
Um, so
Or by that point, were they, did they,
we met in Kolkata. We were very
yeah.
different people. He's not Indian. He's from Bhutan. I'm from India. So
Wow.
yes, you've met him. And
Yeah.
so we met in Kolkata, a very different place, far away from his home, far away from mine, but we met through a very common friend, my best friend, and his sister, cousin. And after that, it was him who introduced me to this world where I am right now. You know, the kind of
Mm.
world I always craved but didn't know what I was really craving for. So
Mm.
he had already been at Navdanya and done a course, and he was telling me about this great person that he had met named Dr. Vandana Shiva, and this great place called Navdanya. So he came back to Navdanya, and after that I followed him for my job in Dehradun. And yeah, after that I joined Navdanya to work with children.
So how long were you in Calcutta for altogether?
Together,
No,
as
just
in,
how much time did you spend in Calcutta?
I spent around 8 months. Not so much. It was enough.
Wow. What? 8 months in
Yeah.
Calcutta?
Yes.
And then you met him in that time?
Yes, I met him during that time.
And then but the masters that you said you did?
I did the master's distance. We have this thing in India. It's like an online education, so you can do, yes.
Okay. That's such a short amount of time. That's I can't believe it. So
Hmm.
you just that's it. Everything just got swept up within that period of time, and then next thing you know, you were somewhere else.
Yeah. See,
And so yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. So when you told your parents about when you met your partner now at the time, were they okay with it, or was that also had to take another convincing? Or
I mean, I didn't convince them. This much I remember, that I didn't convince that he was a good person or he was the right partner for me. And I let them work things out on their own, because I wasn't
oh
moving to Dehradun for him, but I was moving to Dehradun
yes,
for me. And he just happened to
yeah,
be there. And I let my mother and him work things on their own, take their own time to know each other, and you know, build a
Mm.
relationship. So I did not interfere in that equation at all.
Nice. That's really cool. You know, just because you were saying about like arranged marriage, so I was wondering if that was like something, another part of something that you
So my family has given up on that for me. So
say again.
my family has given up on that for me. So, you know,
They,
it,
yeah, at that point, you're already carving your own path, basically.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They knew I was not one of the kind of person
Okay.
to follow the rules, or, you know, I make my own, I follow my own. So
Yeah.
all I knew that I
Yeah.
want to die
That's
happy
amazing.
and at peace. So
Mm. Okay. So how old were you then when you moved up to the farm?
to the farm, to Navdanya. So
Yeah.
I was 22, 21, 22 on
Mm.
the same time. Yeah.
Well, so and then when he was telling you all about the farm and like what was your how were you feeling about that? Because like obviously now looking back, you've been on this journey for quite a while, but back then it would have been all kind of new, right?
For me, it was not. See, because I come from
It
a very
wasn't.
similar environment. Like we are very big
Okay.
on big family and community and village life, and you know.
Mm.
So I did not really like, especially organic farming. When people started talking
Yeah.
to me about organic farming, I'm like, what do you mean? That's the only kind of farming. Like farming is farming, you know, because we don't use chemicals. We never used chemicals. I didn't see my grandmother use chemicals in our farm, in our gardens. So, you know, for me, that was a very like, but this is what we've been doing since we were a child. So there's nothing new for me here.
Okay. Mm.
Yeah.
So rather than it being like, oh, what's this? It was more like, oh, this feels right. This it feels natural. It feels
It feels,
yeah.
yeah, it doesn't feel something, you know, odd, something new. But
Yeah.
what really
Yeah.
kept me working, what really kept me going in that place was the knowledge, not just the knowledge about good things, but the knowledge about the dangers. I didn't know about multinational
Yes.
corporations. I didn't know about chemicals. I didn't know about things that was like, you know, big
Mm.
companies they were doing to farmers, because my grandparents are farmers. And it felt very personal when I started learning about what's happening in the entire country while I was living very peacefully in my own tiny home. You know, so that felt very personal to me, and I felt very scared because those farmers were also like my own family. They kind of, for me, they were my family. So
Yes.
that shook me, that scared me in a way that I do not want what is happening in the other part of the country to have the same effect on my
Mm.
tiny hometown, because there are hardly 40,000 people. It's a tiny town. So, you know, that was something that I wanted to learn more about. The patents, the companies, the laws and regulations, what is legal, what is not legal, but what is right but still illegal, what is wrong, still legal. You know, so many things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a big layer. Like I remember when I first started learning about animals and how animals were treated, and you know, it's just like I had no idea. And once I got it, I was like, "There's no way I'm gonna eat these animals anymore." You know, I was just like, I can't. But then that's the point. Like, you don't know until you know.
Yes. You won't know until you actually look for it. The thing is,
Mm,
the information is always there, you
yes.
know, but um
Mm,
2 years back I got triggered by because that was like, in the phase of activism, and I wanted to make a change in a very aggressive way, like shouting and
This is
protesting every
when, but this is when you were younger.
Yeah, I was a little younger. So, and then I saw this guy with a t-shirt saying ignorance is a bliss. And it kind of triggered me. And I was
Hmm.
like, no, it's not. For you, it
Not,
might be, but
yeah.
ignorance is not a bliss at all. Ignorance is
Mm,
ignorance, and that's it. You're avoiding things, you're avoiding to see the real picture, and that's on you. So I feel like the knowledge
yeah.
and education and things are there. But then again, we come back to the point of what are we teaching people who have the education, people who have the knowledge? Isn't it our responsibility to show the light? Like what I
Mm-hmm.
call, like I used to work with children, and I used to say that we are in a generation of one click away. With one click, you'll get millions of information. But then again, in that millions of information, you'll have 10 information that is correct.
Yes.
Or
It's true.
even less. But it is the job and it's a responsibility for people who worked in this background, who've had experience, who knows things, who have networks. It's our responsibility. It's a responsibility of these people who have this knowledge to show the light. Because there are people who want to know. There are people who want to know
Yeah.
more. So I feel that's where
Yeah.
my biggest responsibility as a human, as a woman, as a human, as part of the nature, I feel that is one of the biggest responsibility that I have. So,
Mm. So, you said your grandparents were farmers. So I think you did tell me that before. Yeah, it ran in the family. Did you kind of get involved when you were a child,
yes, it
or not
used to.
really? Yes.
Yeah, at that time it
Mm.
used to feel like a punishment, but now I just, good old times.
Oh my days, that's so funny. And
Yeah.
what were you eating? Most of your food was coming from them?
Yes, most of our food used to come from our
Wow.
garden. Like even now, our
Yeah.
vegetables, anything, vegetables, every seed because it's a cold place, so we get leafy vegetables throughout the year. So most of the vegetables and most of the lentils and spices are from the farm or from the people that we know they grow. So
Yes. Yeah, yeah. So that's the community. Because I think, you know what, in the West, I feel like it's so far removed, in London. I remember having this conversation with a friend, and basically they were saying like this concept of like, imagine if we were all growing our farm, our own vegetables, then that in a way is also like creating this individual attitude. It's like this
mhm,
individualistic thing, which was a
mhm.
very interesting like perspective of seeing it, because I was like, yeah, but it won't be. It will, at the end of the day, it's about creating the community around it as well. And what ends up happening is you probably have extra that you're going to like share. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It was a very strange, like, which is what you're saying, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. So I feel like
Basically, how it works.
we all have very different perspectives of very same things. So, I think we have to start from that. Like, not every time you're going to see eye to eye, but as long as the work gets
Oh
done.
yeah.
Because we, at the end of the
Mm,
day, we are individuals, we have our own personalities, and we have, we are who we are.
mm.
And yeah,
But I mean, the thing is, at the moment, it is already individual. You go to the supermarket, you know what I mean? That already
yeah,
is like people in their own little bubbles.
it's dangerous right now. It is like I find it very dangerous because we humans are supposed to be in a community. See, everyone
Yes. So,
in nature, In
Yeah.
nature, you see, there's not even a single thing in nature, they grow separate. If you go to the forest, you'll find tiny, 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 tiny stuff under the trees, but they'll be together. If you go to the ocean, you'll find schools of fishes, dolphins. If you look at the ants and the bees and the plants and the gut microbiome, everything is in group. Everything is a community, and we are part of the
Yeah.
nature. We are supposed to be in community. We have our individuality. I'm not going to deny that. But at the same time, we need to be in a community to expand our horizons and to help others expand their horizons in a very different way. So, and right now the world is
Yeah.
very like social media and, with the TVs and social medias and supermarkets. It's not fun.
Yeah.
Like I said, punishment. I used to think that was punishment when I was a kid. But now I don't look at it as a punishment. I look at it as me and I don't know, six, seven other cousins of mine, my grandparents sitting in a farm and working together, laughing and singing. So that is my memory.
Mm. Wow.
So
That's so amazing.
yeah, that is the memory I have, and I don't look at it as a punishment anymore. I used to think it was a punishment, but I don't think so. People are going to remember going to supermarket and choosing tomatoes or avocados and going to create that as their core memory. you know
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think this is the thing. So this is the thing that I noticed. I feel like this country is it is community focused. It's just something I'm seeing being here. And the farming here, the organic farming, or not just organic, all farming is, I think it's like very ingrained in the like history of this place.
hmm
And and just the concept of the farming, I feel like as you described it, it's a community effort.
hmm
It's not just, you know, one person doing it. And um and it, and just to see that as well, and to watch like how people come together to do it, it's so
hmm
amazing. Like it's so, like, I just feel like in the West there's been this crazy thing about like individuality, not like, oh, be yourself, but like do it alone.
Yes, yes. People are afraid to be dependent. People are so
Yes,
afraid to
that's it.
be dependent, and they call it trust issue, and
Mm.
and because the way I see it, we are supposed to be codependent, you know, be there for each other.
Yeah, so
It,
I just, the word codependent, I feel like has negative associations with it. But
exactly. See, that's the
but what
thing.
I
Hmm,
the only thing, just to be clear with the words, because I know codependence is like having to like um it's a bit more controlling, I think, in my mind. But
hmm,
I know a lot of people use the word interdependent. So rather than independent, interdependent, like we need each other.
hmm.
But I know what you're saying.
See, the thing is, as long as you don't lose yourself, because
Mm.
what I'm saying is once you start depending on the other person or other thing or anything for matter, it matters, anything. You s- you cannot lose yourself in the process. You have to be able to take a step back and I'll
Yeah.
also understand you're your own person. If in the future the
Yeah.
other person, other thing is no longer in your life, you'll be able to, get your shit together and be like, okay, I can still do it. And
Yeah,
that
this is uh,
also when I say about the codependence, I just don't mean a singular person. like, the community, because some people
Mm.
are good listeners, some people are
Yeah,
good conversers, some people are good huggers, and you create this world
yes.
where you don't need to have just one best friend. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I just wanted to be clear because I think sometimes when people will hear that word, they're gonna think all these other stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But this is an interesting topic. I feel like because this is a whole other conversation, really, about like what does it?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
community, right? Community. What does it really mean? How does it work? And like you said here, as long as you're not losing yourself, I think that's a really important part of it. And maybe you're speaking now from your experience with the farm,
Mm-hmm.
right? That you were there for so long.
Yeah. I think we all learn
Yeah,
from our own experiences.
yeah, definitely.
As for me, because I from when my for past 10 years, I met so many people in my life, because we used to have interns and volunteers and visitors come to the farm, stay
Yeah.
with us, be the family, be part of our lives. And I got to meet amazing, amazing people, and they're all in a different places, different countries, and but still
Mm,
something happens. That's when we use, like, I don't have any social media, but that's when we use our, whatever's left, like, kind of to have conversation, and we are still there for each other. Community doesn't mean they have to stay together, live together, eat together. It's about the
I love
connection.
that.
It's about the connection from heart
Yes.
to heart.
Mm, mm. Totally, but I feel like I think so many people are feeling the call to also live physically in the way
Yes,
you described,
yes,
Yeah.
yes. You need that kind of space for yourself. You need a space to feel that you're safe, because
Mm,
most of the time now, as a woman, I don't feel safe when I go anywhere. Like, but that's the insecurity that I have, and then that's a fear that I have. I need to overcome it. And in the future, whatever, like in my experience, I will have to face it. And I feel like we have fear, not just for our safety, not just about our security, but also what about how I feel, that emotion, that void,
mm,
that space in your heart where you feel like you need to do something but I just don't know what is it. So the community is very
hmm
important in our part to show you, or to even guide you into, okay, this is where I'm missing. And especially in cities,
mm,
because we all are so busy with 9 to 5 and weekends and this and that. There's a loss of connection. So I think the connection needs to come back, and starting from yourself.
yeah, yeah. There is. That's the point. It's like there's a lot of connection, not just with between people, but with oneself.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
so out of touch with like what's happening. I mean, I was as well before my journey started. What's actually going on in my body?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think as well. What just me because now we met on your the farm that you're working on now, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it was just amazing to see how when people work together as well, just how quickly or how quicker you can get things done. And
Yes.
also, like you said, it's not like, oh my god, we have to do this work. It's work. It's work. It's like there's like a deeper purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and the atmosphere and vibe is different because it's like, okay, you know.
Yes. Yes. Like I told you last time I was at the farm, once you start this journey, there's no
Yes, you
coming.
said this.
I told you,
Yes,
once
I
you start
remember.
this, like, you cannot. You don't want to come out of it. It's not that you can't. You can. It's your choice and your decision, but you just don't want to because you're at peace, you're happy, you're content, and your team is, you fight, you argue, but at the end of the day, you all have each other's back, and you know that, we all are looking at the same goal.
Same. Yes, yes. I love that. I know because this is the thing. I think it's community. Like obviously, what's going to happen?
Hmm.
People, relationships, politics. You know.
Yes. Yeah.
So tell me, how was that experience for you then when you first went on to what's it called, Madonna Farms,
Navdanya.
and how Navdanya, yeah.
Yeah.
So how, first of all, so your partner was kind of already, he had a connection. Did you just
Yes.
go visit sometimes and then yeah, and
Yes, I
then
used
what
to
happened?
I used to visit them, and after school, after my duty, I used to go visit them, and then they have this project with school children that they used to interns used to come to my school where I was working to create this kitchen gardens, and that's how I came to know that these Navdanya had this kind of projects that they would work with children. And after working with school, my partner had to go back to his country where he was gonna work with Gross National Happiness Center in Thimphu. So when he was about to leave, I was asked if I was keen on joining Navdanya then. And
Mhm.
I saw the great opportunity and my school, my job, I was about, I was, had already left actually. And I had mentioned what really had happened during that time. And,
This was the
and
teaching, right?
yes, this is the teaching. I
Yes.
was a teacher. And I had already left, so I was like, okay, this is a really great opportunity. This is where I want to work. This is where I see myself working for, for a very long time. And let me just see. So that's how I joined Navdanya, the farm.
So I would like, can you just give a little overview of what you saw there with the teaching? I know we spoke about it before, but because I think this is another huge part, education, like you said.
Exactly.
So why did you leave?
So my problem is not with the education. My problem is with the
Mm.
education system,
Oof.
and systems is something that I really don't agree with. I believe in we are all part of a chain, and if we touch one string, the others feel it too. And education system for me has been the biggest challenge. Um, because I've always wanted to work with children. So the reason why it's been the biggest challenge is because I do not agree with the rules and regulations and do's and don'ts which the education system has provided, where my principal does not align with that. You know,
Yeah.
because for me, children are not just children. For me, children are human beings ready to learn. They're gonna grow up and they're gonna be adults. They are not something that's going to increase your country's GDP, or they're going to, they are not a tool for me. They are a human being. And
Mm.
there's a sense of responsibility in me to guide these children, especially, or younger generation, for a future where not everything is about money or career or family or struggles. Like, there are many things that are happening in the world, and they should have the right to know what is happening. They should have a right to choose what they want for their with their lives, and they should at least be given an option to choose what they want with their lives, because it's not really common, in especially in India, to be given those kind of options. Like, options are given, yes, I'm not going to deny options are not given. The options are given into being IAS officers, doctors, pilots, engineer, or go abroad. You are not given an option to be happy, healthy, content or at peace. Those are not the options that are given. So I feel like that was my biggest challenge because it was like a rat race, and like I said to you earlier that I did not want it to be in part of the rat race. I did not wanted somebody to look me as a competition, neither I wanted to look somebody else as a competition. We all have unique values and unique knowledge that we can come together and share, and that's what I wanted my children to learn. Like, at least give that option to them. It's like not everyone here is after you. They don't want your job. They don't, not everyone here is here to compete with you.
Mm.
Even the education system is about competition. Like, everything is about competition, about the
So
cleanliness,
true.
the marks, the race, debate team, music
Test.
festival. Everything is a competition. Everything has to be first, second, and third, and the rest. So
So I completely agree with you. And with for me, like as a musician in that industry, it's something again that's I feel it's always like in that direction, and I'm just like, oh, come on, like,
Mhm.
yeah. What? So how has the process been for you of being aware of that within the school? Because it's true, like that's where it comes from. We are educated in that way, and that's all we know. But how do you move away from that? You know?
how do you move away from the mentality of the competition is not everything? I
Yeah,
feel
exactly.
understanding like competition, it starts with people around you, right? Because from very young age, children are used to hearing, oh, your neighbor's son is better than you. He has gotten 99 in maths. How come you got 98? So the
Oh
comparison is
my
always,
days.
so the
The
comparison is
comparison, that's what it is.
always there, and it doesn't start from anywhere. It starts from their house. It starts from their home. It starts from their own parents. It starts from their own people who loves them. And
Wow. So true.
so one of my things was not just to talk to children, but was also talk to the parents. And I wasn't going to teach them how to be a better parent because I don't have a child, and I don't have the right to do that. It's not my place to tell somebody how to raise their children or how to be a
Yeah.
better parent, because there's nothing, because parents don't come with a manual of how to be a better parent. Like, even they are swinging
Yeah.
it like how we all are swinging it. So, we have to cut some slack. So I just tell them, like, it's your children. So do you want them to see successful, or you want to see them happy? And the majority wants to see their children happy. And because once they're happy, they're successful in whatever they do. So, again, the convincing part is also there, talking part is also there, and most people are afraid of confrontation. So,
Yeah.
especially older generation, they feel very attacked when the confrontation happens because it's just like, oh my God, how dare you question my judgment?
Yeah. How dare you know?
Yeah, yeah. So how dare you? You're just like, how old are you? Like, I've seen this world before. I've been here before you, so I know more. So that's where it gets
Yes, yes,
tricky.
yes, yes. Yeah, there's so much of that.
But it's like also I understand, like, yes, I have a responsibility of my own, but also realizing the fact that it is not my burden to carry also. That's where the very thin line ahead, because I I can either get burdened down and be like, shit, nothing's happening. And every time this thing, like, I used to tell this story to my when I used to work with anyone who used to question me, like, what is it? What makes you think that this is going to work? And I used to tell them the story about the forest fire and a hummingbird. And it's it's a story written by Nora Burke, and it's about a story where the tiny hummingbird is trying to put down a fire. She goes to the nearby river, and then she takes a little bit of water in her beak and then goes and drops it on the fire. She does it again and again. And the other animals in the forest, they say, like, what are you doing? Like, you can't put the forest down. And every end of the story, I has to ask the children or the people, like, what do you think about the story? And it was used to be a very interesting take on that, because some of them were like, oh, that's just stupid. It's a very stupid move. Like, you can't be stubborn and let things work. But the way I use that story for my personal life was, I just need to have a courage and determination. I might not be able to make a bigger change in a global level, but that is not my goal. My goal is to make a change in myself and people who I'm surrounded with, my company, my community. And even if I make a dent that way, in a room full of 50 children, if I can make a dent in that room, I know that I'll be creating a chain for the future. And I don't care if I, like, for me, I don't have the expectation that the world is going to change before I die. It might not happen, it might happen. I'm okay with it. As long as I was part of it, as long as I was that tiny hummingbird trying to put the forest fire down. So
Mm.
I think.
It's interesting. I have another story about hummingbird, different
Mhm.
but very similar, like moral of the story. But what? Yeah, I mean, this is another thing I think that it's just the reason. It's like why do we do this? Why are we,
Mhm.
and it's also the how. How does change happen? If everyone is just thinking, oh, that's stupid what the hummingbird is doing, then nothing's ever going to change.
But that's the thing, like, even if there are a set of people who thinks that things want to change, it's their thinking. You know, I
Yes,
I've given
yes,
my part, I've done my part. I'm not
yeah,
here to change people's opinion. You know,
yeah, exactly.
I'm here to show them
Yeah,
the path. They have to walk down on that path on their own. I
yeah,
cannot be
totally.
one.
And I like what you said as well. Is that, well, something about not holding on too tightly to their thing, because that's a big, big, big part.
Hmm.
You're not trying to change everyone, like, and even what you said with the parents, you're not trying to, you know. But I think as well that sometimes that's where some people get it. I don't know, or maybe it's just part of the journey that people work through. Is like through that stage of like, why,
Yeah.
like that's what you said. Why isn't it happening? Why isn't it happening?
Yes. 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 And
Yeah,
for me, like, people
but it
talk about,
is.
like, even in, like at Navdanya and other organization with great people and teachers and philosophers, and they still talk about, like, working bottom up approach or top bottom approach and this approach and that approach. And for me, I was just like, why do we need all these approach where we can just be where we are and do our part? Doctors can start from their hospitals, teachers can start from their school, housewives can start from housewife, children can start from their group. You know, it's a matter of community, and
Mm,
we don't need, like, why do we need, again, the systematic thinking? Why do we need to go from top to bottom and from bottom to top, where we can all be like where we are? Because even
yeah,
in
but
an
I,
like that, like, I was a teacher.
yeah,
There was a set of teacher, the community of teacher, but my thinking was also different. So I started
yeah.
working on a teaching standard.
Oh yes, so this is. I mean, for me, bottom up is exactly what you're describing. It's everyone just doing their thing. but you were having the experience, right, of like working within the system and trying to kind of like make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Like you smile. You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so then
But
in the end,
yeah, in the end, I had to
because that,
leave.
yes.
In the end, I had to leave the system because it's just like it wasn't going
Mm,
anywhere. Because there were so many rules. Like once you're in the system, you have to follow the rules and regulation. But it didn't
mm,
stop me from being a teacher. This is what I'm trying to say.
love that.
It
Yes.
did not
Same.
stop me from having the same vision that I had when I was going to the classroom full of children. I was still going to classroom full of children, but not as a typical teacher the system has said you need to be like one. I
Yes.
was going
Love
there
that.
the teacher that I needed to be and I wanted to be and what the children needed me to be, not what the
Mm.
system wanted me to be.
So that was when you were still working within the system, are you talking about?
It was after I left the system because I realized
Okay.
that working in the system, I was just like, no, these people are going to put me down, make me miserable. And because I used to get
Yeah.
called in the office for I don't know how many times. you know,
Naughty, the naughty child as well.
and I was a teacher and I wasn't really, yeah, I was not really doing the teachery stuff like what they expected me to do. So I
Yeah.
was just,
So what they would say something like, you're not really supposed to speak, is that what they're
yeah,
saying? Like,
yeah, like doing it
yeah.
too personal with the children. And these are teenage kids.
Mm.
You need to know how they're mentally. It's not just about the books and the blackboard or the chalk or a duster. It was their lives. What they are
Yeah, man.
going through, it's so important. They are going through this huge change in their body. They are going through puberty. They don't know what they are happening. Like girls are having their first period. They don't know what the fuck they are gonna do. The boys are
Yeah.
having their hair, like they don't know what to do. They don't know how to shave. Like they don't know what to do with their life. They don't know how to handle situation that's happening in their home. So all I was being was their listening buddy because I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor, but I'm a human being. I'm a person.
Mm.
And I was not there to find solution for that. I was not there to be like, okay, so this is your problem, do this. I was there, okay, this is how you're feeling, I'm here to listen. And that's all I did with like, whichever class I went to.
I feel like it's also the like thing about respect. Because I feel like when I was at school and, as a child, I always just felt like, I told you this the other day, I didn't understand why the teachers would talk to me so condescendingly. Like, not even if you've done something bad, but sometimes they just talk to you like that. And I was just like, why are you talking to me like that? And I wonder how many other children feel that as well.
I feel that's the thing, like, when the tag of teacher comes to you,
Mm.
we don't realize as teachers, we don't realize that it's not just a label. It's we like
Yes,
the again question of,
the responsibility.
yeah, what are we teaching? What are we teaching one
Yeah.
thing, but the other thing is how are we teaching?
Yes. Whew.
How
Yeah.
are we
And
doing
also,
the thing?
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it
So,
sounds like as well, sorry.
no, please go ahead.
Just with what you were saying, like you weren't a therapist, you were just there to listen and to be a human, like I'm a human being, like, I get it. It sounds like you were just meeting on a very neutral level. It's not
Mhm.
like this, I'm a teacher. It's just like, yeah,
No, not at
yeah.
all. I was not their friend. I was not their teacher. I was there
Mm.
because it was my responsibility. like to be there. For me, that was the
Yeah.
most important thing, to be there in whatever role they want to see me as, which was not my decision to make. It depended on every other individual. Some looked at me, some used to tell me, like, well, there was one student named Mahima, she used to say this, she reminded me of her elder sister. Like, she used to tell me that I reminded her of her elder sister. So she used to come with to me with her problems, and I just listened to her. Just like her, there were many, many other children who used to come to me as like a mother figure or a friend, or whoever. For me, the
Yeah.
main thing was to be there, not as who, but be there.
Yeah. 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 It's how.
Yeah.
um, so what happened? So basically, you were like, "This isn't working with my values. I feel like I can't. You can't be yourself, I guess, as well, and show up in the way you think that should be for the support for these children, right?" So you left, and then the farm opened up opportunities. So you moved to the farm. But then,
Yes.
like, yeah, what was this experience like? Obviously, now this is like a long period of your time, but I would love to just hear a bit more about that whole, and then how the teaching played into that as well.
Um, so after that, the whole experience with teaching in school, like the systematic teaching ended with the school when I decided to quit. And then I moved to Navdanya, Navdanya Biodiversity Farm in Dehradun, and I started working there as an intern and volunteer coordinator or supervisor for all the children and volunteers who used to come to the farm and guide them with their theses and their papers and their internship and whatever. But at the same time, we used to work. I used to take these same interns to different schools in Dehradun, especially rural schools, um, underprivileged kids, to work with them. And the Gardens of Hope, the project that we had made about creating a gardens for them so that they can grow their own food and eat. So those are the small things that I used to do. But yeah, in that same process, it was not just a garden. We used to go and talk to them about their own personal growth, their own mental health, and whatever they needed, they required from us. So it was more of like a cultural exchange program, like experience for the children, and as well as because for the interns to see this life of the rural children, underprivileged children, it was something that I feel like everyone should experience, and also for the underprivileged children to see this kind of lifestyle and the people who are coming from, different parts of the world in their hometown, in their village, to learn about organic farming where they themselves do not want to be part of. Because farming was something that nobody wanted to do. Like nobody wants to be a farmers. So
And
yeah,
when you say the privilege, what do you mean there? Because yeah,
privilege about
yeah,
the
you said
yeah. So the
the
under
children.
So
Yeah.
underprivileged children are basically like who they all go to the government uh, schools. They're financially not very, very good. So, for them, education is a very biggest school, basically, not just education, but school is a very biggest thing that is not provided if they are private, but because it's a government thing, so they get like a little bit of help with their uniforms, and
Hmm.
most of the students in the school are basically from the below poverty line. So in India, there's above poverty line and below poverty lines, and most of the children they belong from below poverty line, where their parents are either farmers or daily laborers. So they are not very financially stable.
Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, no, it's just interesting because I guess there must be like a whole different kind of education as well that they're getting, And then just like we use the word underprivileged in that way that you described, which makes sense. But then in another way, I feel like I don't know, it's a bit of a con.
Mhm,
The other side of it, the way we're doing things.
mhm.
Do you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, and the fact that people are coming to see how, you know, how you do it organically, how, now this
Mm-hmm.
is like where everything turns around, and we
Yes.
go back to nature, back to the real, and
Yeah, exactly. But that's the whole purpose of this cultural. I wouldn't say cultural actually. It's not even a cultural thing. The whole purpose of this interaction with the people
uh-huh.
from abroad and
Gotcha.
from India as well is
Got
to
it.
be able to find that line, to be able to find that middle ground for both, to understand that whatever we are doing, one thinks this is wrong or one thing this is not
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
if the other thing is doing
Exactly.
the right. So, this is where we've created this like middle ground for both the parties to see what one thinks is a luxury is for other person it's not.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. So you were basically teaching in kind of a different way still.
Yes, I'm still
Yeah.
teaching.
Yeah. And so then, yeah, so you learned a lot. Did you learn more about like organic farming as well when you were there? Obviously, you must have, right?
Yes, yes, because we used to work with the staff. So we have a very close-knit staff we used to we call family. And every ups and downs we went together, like we faced it together. And so we used to work every morning together at the field, like whatever it was. The special, uh, the best one for everyone in the farm was during the monsoon season. It was right before the rice plantation because it was like a big celebration. So everyone used to get on the field and start rice planting and play mud fights because the entire field is filled with mud. So, yeah. See, those are the memories I
Oh, this.
have. I don't have memories with anyone going to the supermarket.
Oh my days, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the overall thing is that it just sounds like this farming thing is such a community project. It's like such
Hmm.
a, it's all about doing it together. And like you said, the way of living, that joy that comes with being in as part of this tribe.
Hmm.
And I guess, and it's so removed from like the rat race.
Yeah. There is no rat race. There is no
Yeah.
competition in farming. There is no who goes first or who comes last. There is no first, second, and third. There is no grading system. There is no ABCs. There's just together doing, singing,
Wow.
talking about each
Wow.
other, talking about family, talking about, whatever, the color of the flower or the
Wow.
seasons.
Dude, this is so crazy. Like, wow. It's just making me see like all these problems and inverted ways of doing things that we have been doing for so long. I feel like it all comes down to the food. It comes down to
Yes.
the farming, like because so many people want to create communities, and I feel like sometimes the farming thing is on the side.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
actually, yeah, it's like it's actually really powerful
it is.
when it
It
starts
is.
from there.
Yeah, it is like that's the thing. Like, we have always been a family people. Like, it was never about the blood. It was never about the family tree or like which bloodline or lineage. It was always about the connection. It was always
Mm.
about meeting soul to soul and understanding each other and
Mm,
growing together. And not just growing in terms of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, but also like the food, like you said, everything comes down. We grow food together,
yeah.
we eat together, so
Yes.
that's where the whole the whole community actually is built on, like growing, eating, and learning together. Like everything ends with together.
Mm. Love that. Yes. Everything ends with together. Wow. Yeah, and
Everything.
mm, one of my friends, Snuff, I DJ'd here on the podcast, and he's very big with food and diet and all these things and health and yeah, I just love it. He said it, and I this thing it's just always stuck with me. Colonization starts in the colon. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, oh yeah, man.
Yes.
And that's the biggest thing. And that's like that we need to change those ways. Go back to and like what are we eating? It's a
Yes.
huge like what are we eating? Because
Exactly.
we have been conditioned to eat poison.
Yes. Yes,
So
that is
like
true.
and that's big. Now we have to change our behavior and it's hard, you know?
And the biggest impact, I don't know if it's if you see it, it's now it's starting, it's happening, and I see it, and it makes me really happy. But the farmers market,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah. Yeah.
farmers
It's a
market.
big thing in London actually.
Farmers market is not just about food; it's about a community.
Yes. Oh my days.
You know, a farmers market
Yeah.
is not about someone is growing a pumpkin or another one is growing spinach, but it's about
Mm,
if you have spinach, I'll take your spinach, you can take the pumpkin. You know, let's exchange. The barter system that was always there in many, many cultures then was, of course, changed by monetization, where the whole
mm,
consumerism started in, where the money started
yeah.
becoming big, you know,
Yeah.
and the value of things and people started to decrease, the money started to increase, the value of money started to increase. That's where we went wrong
Mm.
as human beings. When
Yeah,
we
now
gave,
yeah, markets are less popular as they used to be. But you know what? Like in Morocco, that's what it's all about. The souk. That's how they do everything. They only have markets.
Mhm.
And yeah, that was an amazing to see that as well. Like that's it.
Yeah,
And
see?
it's and then one person has their honey stall and they're all just serving honey and that's it. You know, like you said, they're just growing, you know.
Mhm. It has always
Yeah, man.
been
I so okay, sorry, go on.
it has always been our culture. Like, you know,
Yes,
it has
yes.
always been that way. Like we went something wrong and now it's we are correcting it. You know, it's never
Yeah,
too late to correct anything and we are almost there. We are correcting it and then it's a long run, but we have already started it. So yeah, we're the
that's true.
hummingbirds.
That's the exactly yes. We are
Yeah,
yeah, always and belief, faith, trust, all of that.
all of that.
Um,
All of that.
yeah. What I was going to say. So I would love to hear. So when you were there at the farm, was that every day you had to? Everyone had was involved in some kind of farming with
Yeah.
for a certain amount of time. Wow.
It all depended on you. If you wanted to work, you want to take a break, you could work in the morning, day, evening, whenever you wanted. The work was always there. It was always there. All you had to do was go there, show up, and do it. So, you know, there were
Mm,
no like about rules about like, oh, you don't go there, you don't do that. Again, like the whole system plan was no.
mm,
But
yeah. Or feed.
we had
Yeah.
one thing was we would always every day check up on each other. Like we check in on each other.
Oh,
We would create this circle every morning or whenever required. We would create this circle of space where we would talk how we are, where we are emotionally, mentally, physically, and if anybody could help with each other. So we would create the circles to know how as a community we are doing or how as individual we are doing, like, you know, to create a safe space because it was a
yeah.
home.
Yes.
So
Yes. 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 So, did you So it was like yeah. There's no like feeling bad as well if you didn't want to do.
no, not at all.
Yeah.
No.
It's so interesting. It's so different. And then Vandana Shiva was she also part of? the day to day, or was she met? Because I know
She
she's
used
obviously
to
doing so many
travel
things.
a lot. She used to
Ah,
travel a
yeah,
lot. So we would get her to meet her during courses because you used to have this big um, international courses like A to C and Gandhi globalization and ecofeminism. So she used to come for those courses, but most of the time she was always flying.
okay, fine, fine. It sounds amazing. It sounds like, yeah, family, team, growth, community, tribe, like, and
Yeah.
joy, you know.
Yes.
So, and then you were just involved with like other aspects as well, like the training and like you said, the people that were coming in for the intern. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you ever involved in any of like the fighting the
I
big
mean,
farmers?
so basically, what where I was Navdanya in India, it's a very complicated and a very technical stuff. So we really can't go ahead
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Navdanya's name to do this kind of protest and activism thing because we cannot do
Yes.
activism. So, but
Okay,
what we
fine.
could do was do research. So I had done this, written this book with Vandana Shiva called Origin. It's about reclaiming the commons, about the land rights, and about the seed rights, and about the patents, and what laws there are from government that helps farmers. Because during that time there were some laws that were coming up that was not in a favor for farmers. So we came up with this book and publication. So yeah, so we used to do activism, but in a very different way, not in a very like yeah.
So your role would have been like a lot of research on that?
Yes, a lot of research, publications, illustrator. So most of the publications and most of the artwork and illustrations on the publications was done by me also. So that was I was doing everything, little bit of whatever I could.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Got it, got it. Wow. So I know you've shared quite a bit of like in different ways what you experienced there, but if I was to ask you like what do you think of what like the main points that you took away from that experience, like what would that be?
One point would be that there's never enough knowledge that you can't handle. Because Navdanya is a place which created the spark in me to learn more, to meet more, and because when you work in a place for 10 years, the thing starts to get in your head like, oh, I know everything. I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that, I do everything. So, but at the same time, I learned that no amount of knowledge is ever going to be enough for me. So I have to keep this curiosity in me to find more things, to learn new things, to meet new people, to experience new adventures. So I think Navdanya has been the biggest teacher for me on that, like to be able to be open to kind of knowledge or whatever that comes towards me. Yeah.
Love that. Are there any other nuggets?
I would say knowledge was the first. I would say the second is human relation. Like because like I was telling you about my journey of like how I had to convince my mother, I had to talk to my family and this and that. At times I used to feel very alone. I was like, oh, like nobody's there to support me. I'm on my own. Like I have to fight my own battles and this and you know that the whole perspective of like, I cannot depend on anybody else but myself. I don't need any, that changed to I don't need anybody else. But I feel my learning was in that point where like I might be enough for myself, but at times it's it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to, be open to receiving help. And I think the human connection, because I had lost touch with that, because I am a very introverted person and I'm very reserved. It takes time for me to open up. But for me, that has been quite a journey, because like I'm just like this. I don't want to talk to people. But I was just like, but I need to talk to people. Otherwise, I'll go mad. Like the things that I have in my
Yes.
mind is going to make me crazy. And because and surprisingly,
Yeah.
I've always struggled with this kind of thing. And this recent trip, like I was talking to you about Auroville, and we had this amazing session with Deepti ji, who has been in Navdanya, I mean, at Auroville for many, many years. And she said one thing, and it was, your mind is a great at service, but is a dangerous master.
Yes.
So it
Yeah, yeah,
stuck
yeah, I've
to.
heard that before.
So I was just like, oh, like maybe
Yeah.
my mind is playing, something. So I need people, I need human connection. I need people to tell me that,
Mm,
oh, you're wrong, but there is another way. Like, let's find solution together. Let's go this, you know, hurdle together. Like, it's okay. So I don't need to fight all the battles by myself. So I think the human
mm.
connection, like the human connection was the thing, like I think the second thing that I've taken as in Navdanya. Because we were
I think,
always there. I was always surrounded by people.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, yes. I think the thing is, like, if you're not, and if you grow up in a way where there's such disconnection, you won't necessarily know, like, what you've just explained, like, that actually, I need it, I like it, I want it. You know what I mean? Like, because you're so used to not having it, you don't really know anything else.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like I grew up with a very close joint family. I was
Mm,
always surrounded by people. Then I moved to city and suddenly I was alone, with one friend. And in that whole
yeah.
journey and the whole experience, like I enjoyed having people. Now I'm enjoying not having people, and I don't know what I want. Again, it's my journey to understand if the human connection is the kind of connection that I need, or what kind of. When I talk about human connection, I just don't mean it needs to be your family, or it doesn't need to be your blood, or
Yes.
from your lineage. It could be someone you connect to. It could be just one person or two
Yeah.
people. You don't need an
It's just
entire
us.
village. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. So yeah, do you think, yeah, I would love to hear, do you have any other, so those two are really cool, I like what you said. um
It's very simple.
any other
That's
takeaways?
I mean, it was very, like for me, it's very, those things are very simple, but like I find it's most relatable to me, because we are always looking for the bigger picture, but the thing which is a small thing right in front of you that holds the most value, those two are this, those two are it. Like, for me, those two are the things that I want to keep it for me, and I want to share it with everybody. So they might have, I've learned great deal from Navdanya. Like there's not even, I can write a book about it, about my experience, the
Yes,
things that I've learned. So, but there's a
you
lot.
should, hey.
Yeah, so there's a lot to say and there's a lot to write about. But I think these two are the things like,
Okay,
yeah.
I just kind of want to pull another, you know,
Sure.
another point. Is anything else coming up like now in this moment?
No, I didn't understand what you mean by that.
Oh, I just wanted to know if you had any other takeaways, like throughout that whole period of time of like
From Navdanya.
something that was a big part for you? Yeah, exactly.
Mm, I don't know. I've never really thought about it.
Yeah, this is what I was just thinking, because if that's the point, it's like when someone asks you the question, then it's like,
Yeah,
it's like the invitation to,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Like last, I had for something I had to write a bio for myself, which I'd never done in my life. I'm 32. I'm going to be 33, and
I
I'd
feel like I
never
do
written
this
a
all the
bio for
time.
myself. I've never. Then sitting in front of my computer, and I'm like, what do I write? I've just written my name, and I don't know anything else. Like,
Yeah,
what done?
yeah.
So I think it's yeah, I don't think so. I have like a very specific, there are so many things that just takes.
Send me your bio, yeah. um, yeah, I just feel like you said, there must be so much that you learn. Like there must be so much. Yeah, yeah, and I like what you said about the human interaction, because I feel like that's a big one. I think that's a big one for everyone, and a lot of people who are like on this journey and on this path. I think a lot of people are feeling that call.
Mhm,
You know.
mhm.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is like it was not the human interaction and human connection is there, but at the same time, I think it's a subsection from my time with the farmers, because the farmers had always been the one who welcomed us with their open arms, like any time of the day, any time of the night. Like sometimes we used to reach to these places in midnight, with traveling, and they would still be waiting for us with like proper, like warm food, home cooked food, and they would still sit with us and eat with us. And I think those are the connection. Like they don't know my full name. I don't know their full name. I don't know if they how many family members they have, or they don't know how many family members I have. But at that moment, we are two people sitting in the same room on the floor, eating the food that they've prepared with so much love and care, which they have grown in their own farm with so much love and care. So,
Wow. Yeah.
those are those tiny, tiny things that
Wow.
it passes by, but it
Yeah.
it kind of like sticks to you. It sticks with you in a very different way. So I think human connection is not just that. A human connection is sometimes you might not know the person's name or the family background, but you still, you know, you're comfortable and you're at ease. So,
And so when you talk about the farmers, are they the people, like originally from the land, who have been looking after this land?
mhm. Yes, like the
And they,
small marginal farmers that has been feeding
yeah,
the world.
wow, it's mad, eh?
Yeah. Imagine small marginal farmers who actually are only 20% are feeding the 80% in the world. And it's 80% of industrial farming are only feeding 20% of the population.
Wow. Yes, I remember hearing this from Vandana Shiva.
Yeah,
So,
you can.
well, hang on. So basically, they were like the main people, right? But then there were lots of other people working like you that would also contribute. Is that? But they were like holding down the main farming.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
Navdanya used to work with 22 different states. So we worked with lakhs of farmers. Navdanya has more than I don't know how many lakhs of farmers in India. So one of my partner's job was to go to different places to meet the farmers and to give the trainings and to be with them to understand their issues and the problems. And these are not big industrial farmers. They don't own hectares and hectares of land. They are very small farmers who own like maximum of 2 acres of land. So that was one of the jobs that we had to do was create this relation with the like with the people who eat the food and who grows the food.
Yes,
So
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
because that's the disconnection.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is a big disconnection, and
Mm.
I think now with the urban gardening and farmers market, I feel like this the change is happening. It's slow,
Yeah,
but it is.
definitely. So I have a question for you actually, because I feel like we kind of touched on it a little bit, but about um, like resolving conflict when in this kind of community, because I feel like it's going to come up. It's a natural thing, and when you're in, uh, living like that, actually, I think it comes up more quickly. You know,
Mm-hmm.
certain things. How did you handle that? What did you anything that you kind of learned about that process? You know.
See, for there is the definition of right and wrong itself is right and wrong. So, for me, you might be seeing you might be seeing something else, and for me, I might be seeing something else. So, it's a very simple yet complicated made by people. So, and India is a land of Swaraj, self-governance. So, it's not the one person ruling, it's the entire community. It's not about the biasness or partiality, it's about how we can work things out. It's not about right and wrong. It's not about who is blaming who, but it's about coming together, finding a solution. There is a problem, no denying it. You can't change it. But how do we solve the problem? Again,
Wow,
there's
that's so.
a conflict. Always going to be a conflict. But again, how do we tackle
Yes.
that conflict without being hurtful, offensive, disrespectful, without humiliating each other? How do we come
Oh,
together that way?
well, that is the question. How?
That's the thing, like the communication is so important. Communication has reduced to some emojis or some,
Yes.
you know, messages. But it used to be more than
Yeah.
that. Communication used to be so much powerful and sacred. It used to understand how the
Mm,
other person was feeling. It used to be like two people, crying and hugging each other at the end of the conversation. It used to be so sacred. Now it's just reduced to nothing. You see, that's where the problem lies. It's not about the conflict, it's about how do we solve it.
I'm totally with you on that, and because I notice when sometimes when we communicate, we're not actually saying all the in between words. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then it's not the full piece. It's not the full picture. It's just a tiny part of it, and then that's when the miscommunication happens.
Exactly. Why does
What
miscommunication
you
happen?
said. Yes. Yes.
You see, why does it
But
happen?
what do
Because
you?
we're looking for because we are just responding for the sake of
Yeah.
responding, not because
Yeah.
we're listening.
Rather. Yeah. And sometimes maybe not, rather than coming from a place of curiosity and why and how that person is feeling, and then the
Hmm.
ego as well sometimes.
Yeah, see, that's the human
But what you said
emotions.
was, yes, 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 yes. Yeah, no, I think it was very beautiful what you said. I love it. Yeah. Um. So what I was going to ask, that was the one question. Oh, there's, what did you say? This word suraj. Where does that come from, and why is that a thing?
Suraj is where, like, I don't know where actually it comes from, but this is what the philosophy of most Indians, like, if you go to villages, even now in remote villages, they have self-governance, which is also known as Panchayat Raj. So if there's some wrong that happened in the
Oh,
community or in a village, they don't run to the police station, they don't go to the high court or supreme court or district attorney, they don't go to these places. They get together under a tree. They sit under a
wow.
tree. Imagine that.
Mm.
and they discuss
Wow.
the problem. That's what a community governance looks like,
Oh my God,
where
I love that.
it's
Sorry, what
not
was the last part you said?
like everyone comes together, like every individual in that community comes together to find the solution, not to blame.
Yeah, this is amazing. I think this is the problem because we always putting up responsibility outside in these authority figures, and because
Mhm.
of that, the communication has completely like distorted because we're
Yeah.
not. And you know, how many times have you had a conflict with someone and then confronted them about it? And like you said, like this is emotionally becoming intelligent and learning how to deal with that. And I just love that because of this concept of self governance,
Yeah.
this is how you deal with it. This is
Yes.
the normal way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has always been that way. Like when you have a conflict, you don't just turn around and run. You know,
Yes.
it's
Address
like the
it.
value of relation and the value of connection. Again, the same
Mm.
thing. Like we have been um secluded so much. We have
Yeah.
been taught in a direction, on a way that we are individuals. You know, we
Mm.
have to think about ourselves. We have been molded into that, so that whenever there's a time to save a relation or by just a confrontation, we choose to, rather than fighting for that cause, we take
Yeah.
flight, just run away from it.
Yeah. 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 Totally. Take
See,
flight. But
it's again
thank you for
fight or
sharing that.
flight. Yeah,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. Because no, because the thing is, I think that for some people, it's hard to imagine a world without these authorities, these systems. Oh, how is it possible? How is it? But it is, and it was, and we did it, and now we're going back to that. You know, so many of us are going back to that now. Yeah.
Exactly. The thing is, the reason why people are uncomfortable is with this kind of governance is because they have never experienced this kind of governance.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
It's habit.
Yep.
Humans are very habitual beings.
Yes.
Make a
Totally.
habit, and
Yeah. But
habits
this is the whole point. We are
change.
learning how to break these habits, right?
Yeah. Like I said, it's very simple yet very complicated, created by humans. Nobody else, nobody
Yes.
has put it down, written and stamped it and said this is how humans are supposed to live. Nobody.
Yeah.
You'll
Yeah. Yeah.
find it never,
Yeah.
never any books, any rules and regulation, any
Exactly.
constitution.
I mean, it is there in some books, but like you said, you have to find it. You have to seek, and you want to know.
Yeah,
Also, it's been erased. It's been manipulated and forgotten,
yeah,
and now we're going back to the roots, man.
yeah. We have to go back to roots. Like we have to not just go back, find our roots first.
Yes.
Because until and unless you don't know what you really
Yes.
believe and what you are here, this will
Yes. Mm.
overtake. And but when this
Mm.
and this they align, magical thing happens.
Mm. Ooh.
You see, like this is where the magic begins. When this and this is aligned together, that's where the miracle happens. That's where the magic happens. That's when you create magic and be part of
Yeah,
this
too true.
magical world. It's
Love
a
that.
balance.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what? Yeah. I just feel like that was like that needed to just land. What? So you were there for 10 years. It was an amazing experience, obviously with its own challenges and everything, and but also the appreciation for that way of life and that way of living. So
Mhm.
what happened at the end of that culmination? And obviously you were making the decision with your partner as well, right?
Mhm.
Why did you decide that this is the end of that chapter?
Uh, 10 years is not a small amount of time. We spent 10 years in that place and we loved each second there. And it was time for us to move on because, finding a route is something. and moving somewhere and again creating a home is something. We felt this deeper calling that we need to do what we were doing here for past 10 years, we need to do it somewhere else. It's
Oh,
not because
wow.
it was not because we were done with the place, it was not because the place was done with us. It was never about, you know, why the change now. It was about the change needs to be now because there's a deeper
Wow.
calling. There is a calling and we cannot ignore it because
No.
if we wouldn't ignore this calling 10 years ago, we wouldn't be here. So,
Mm. Yeah,
you know,
I love
it was
that.
a hard
Yeah.
thing to do. Like it was my home for 10 years. I lived there more than I lived in my hometown. So it was a home. It was the hardest thing to do, but just because it was hard doesn't mean it was not necessary. So, and sometimes you have to make choices that you don't feel right at the moment, but also need to have a courage to see what's on the other side, and
I love.
took that decision. Here I am with you. So,
Mm.
universe has its own way of teaching and showing us what we are capable of and what we are meant to do. We just we just have to let it do its thing.
Thing, yeah. So now it's just about, yeah, spreading the seeds of knowledge further.
Yeah, yes.
Mm.
It's just, yeah, so simple,
And
nothing.
then, so do you want to share a bit about what you're up to now?
So right now I'm with this group of amazing community again. Oh, I'm just too blessed. I feel so blessed. Like from one family to another, my family is just growing and I've never been more appreciative and more, filled with more gratitude. I'm with this group of people whom I call family now, and I've been with them for past, I think, 4 months. And we are creating this place, um, a place for people where they can be and they can do whatever they want. They can just be peace and just be. There is no race, there is no competition. If you like music, you make music. If you like pottery, do pottery. And I'm in that, we are in this process of creating this world where we have always dreamed about. And where I've personally have dreamt about bringing my child into the world where my child can look up to adults and be like, okay, this is normal. This is not something that's not normal. So with that, we have just started with organic farming because that's where most of my experiences also comes from. So we are converting this piece of land which has been used for a commercial use and chemical farming. So we are converting that into organic farming, and so far we've been blessed to have amazing harvesting, and you were there. You got to eat some of the vegetables that were grown there. So yeah, that's where I'm at, and also I'm working with Anmol and Krisha with the education part. That's where my heart lies. Education part with university children and school children, how we can bring about the changes in the city schools, where it's they don't have the opportunity to learn what we learned. They don't have the means to get all the information, and not just the information, but the right kind of information, the right kind of networks and the people and the group and the community. So our work is also with them on the education and on the knowledge part, and also as food because the food is something that in cities, because it's a very fast life. So like
Yeah,
those food topic also is also like a very important thing for me because I've also worked in the food section when I was at the farm. So I've always found
yeah,
food as a medicine, and I have this very big. I admire Ayurveda a lot. I actually, Ayurveda is something to live by. So, and it talks about food as a medicine. So rather than take medicine, you eat food, so there's nothing wrong with it. So on that topic as well. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now, expanding what I can and learning as much as I can and sharing as much as I can.
Amazing. So, and the education in the city schools, that would be you going to the schools, right?
Yes, like
Yeah.
before meeting you, actually, we had visited two universities in Ahmedabad in Gujarat. So that's where we had to see where we can fill in, and what we
Yeah.
can do with them, what work can be done, and
Amen.
about the interest from the university as well as from the children.
Mm. Amazing. It's like I mean, it's 10 years is a long time, and you must have learned so much. And 100%, like I totally can see the importance and the calling of now. Like it's time to go and plant this information in other places because yeah, I feel like it's a requirement now.
It is, it is,
um, but
it
that's
is.
amazing, and yeah, and I was there at the farm the other day and just seeing all the beginning stages. It feels like all beginning stages of like how
Mm,
it's going to look like a very different place. But I like your description of what you're envisioning for it, you know. Mm. And and again, these places, I feel like we we are at the stage now where this is what we want. This is what we're going to be creating. And like what we spoke about Oroville, that's another community there in Pondicherry, and the vision there was like this is it's a dream because we're not
mhm,
quite ready yet to be
mhm,
living in this way, and that was back in the when that started, which was quite a long time ago now. I can't remember the date, but now it's almost like we're ready.
mhm. See, the
Or
transition needs
some
to
of us
happen.
are ready.
Transition needs to happen now. It's um,
Yes,
the thing is,
yes,
Oroville is an amazing place. I first day I went there, I want to live here, you know, and I want to be part of that kind of community. I want to be
yeah.
part of a community where I am respected and where I'm given respect to the other person or to my community, because the respect is one thing that we don't have in this world anymore. Respect comes with a price. So, and I don't want to pay a price for respect that I rightfully is mine. So, I want to create a place where everybody, everything, not just humans, like the animals and the plants and the flowers and the pollinators, the flies, and even the mosquito gets respect, So, something like that where there is no discrimination, there is no hierarchy, there is no partiality, there's just love.
Mm, amazing. Bless you.
Oh,
Thank you so much. I think yeah, it's great conversation, and it's just great to hear and to learn because I think a lot of what you speak about is just embedded in this culture here on this land. So
mhm.
it's amazing to just bring that out, and hear about it.
I'm the daughter of this land.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, that's a magical place.
it is. Thank you so much. I had the best time. Like,
Oh, bless you.
I was just like, okay, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
And
And
then it just comes out.
it's just, yeah, it was a great conversation. I loved every bit of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. And then listen, I like to end on this question for everyone that I speak to. What does freedom mean to you?
What does freedom mean to me? Ah,
Yeah.
freedom. Where I feel it's It's not a word, it's a feeling for me. And freedom, what I feel is where I am right now, mentally and physically and spiritually and emotionally, because I'm not in the system to be forced or to do something. So freedom for me is to be able to breathe, to speak and do and eat and do whatever, and to just be if you want to be. So for me, that is freedom. Not being told or not being questioned or not being, you know, I don't know. For me, it's a feeling. It's here.
Mm.
So I'm at that. I
Mm. What was the last thing you said there?
feel free. So, for me, that's
Love that. Yes. Woo.
yeah.
Okay. I just remembered that I also wanted to ask you about some questions about um, like farming organically. And if you
Mhm.
have any tips for anyone who is thinking of, because I was just thinking, oh yeah, we've just spoken all about this, but haven't actually really like gone into any.
Organic farming. Okay, yeah, sure, sure. See whatever you want. I'm here for you.
Which is cool. We've spoken all about like the what is what comes with it. But basically, I think a lot of people have this idea. They want to start growing their own vegetables. They want to start, you know what I mean? Like,
hmm
and sometimes it can seem like it's so far away. How do and then also obviously the other part of it is how do you now learn how to grow without all these pesticides? Because that's a whole other
That's a whole nother
thing as
thing.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like because one of the biggest challenges for us with the farmers was trying to when the farmers would come to us and would try to say that they want to convert in organic farming after doing almost like 10-15 years of chemical farming on their land. It used to be like, okay, now our job is to rejuvenate the soil. So we will always say start very small. If you have 2 acres of land, start with half acre of land, because farmers, their livelihood is farming. If they fail on that, their children's education, their shelter, food, all those things are in jeopardy, and we can't ask that to a farmer. So our main thing was start very small. They start the amount where you can use in your home, without using chemical, without using pesticides. And the reason why we could say that is because these farmers had like cow dungs and cow urines and neem leaves and all these natural fertilizers and insecticides and all these things. But that's impossible in, actually not even impossible in city life. Like you can nowadays you can get all these things, like, from your community who has all these things. So again, like, you have to find the connection with the people, like with the community, like who has what you can give, like how we can do this uh, uh, this system, this barter system, exchange system work. So I think I would suggest it's never a bad idea to start your own farming, but start small, because otherwise you'll be overwhelmed, because it's not just work of manual labor, but it's a work of your patience, it's a work of your how persistent you are, how much you can give, because sometimes you'll have to wake up around like 3 o'clock in the morning. Are you willing to do that? Sometimes you have to stay very late trying to figure out what kind of seeds and planting, and this is like a lifestyle, and it's a livelihood. Like, if you're willing to make all those changes, you're on the right path. But if you want to make a change in your lifestyle and you're not committed enough, find a community who actually does all this, because with your help, they also grow. And with their help, you
Mm,
also grow.
that's a good point actually, because yeah, you can also just join people who are already doing that.
Yeah.
And then, and how? What is the process of regenerating the soul? Like, does the soil? Sorry, the soul.
There's a soul. You have to work on it.
That, that,
You have to work on it. It's find, you know, with the chemical farming, you use chemical to destroy the land, the soil. And with the regenerative farming, you have to find the natural things that regenerates the soil, which is again your natural fertilizer. Any kind of natural leaves, like what we used to use was lentils or legumes because it's a great nitrogen fixer. So we used to do that, irrigate the land, mulching, weeding, and green manure. Like there are tons and different kinds of compost that you can use. Kitchen compost, which is very famous, and vermicompost, which is very trendy now. Like everybody has vermicompost, vermi wash. There are so many things that you can use as alternative to the chemicals.
would you, that one is at wormy. You said compost.
Vermi, yeah, the earthworms.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, but how, I was just question: how long does that take? Like,
It
is that a
depends.
long process to generate
It's
land
a long
with the
process.
soil?
It is a long
It
process.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a long
Yeah.
process. That's why we say start smaller
Small.
section of your land so that you can eat healthy food and don't get sick. And then slowly, year after year, you increase that portion of the land. While you're
Mm.
growing, you just rejuvenate the soil, rejuvenate the soil, rejuvenate the soil, like do the
So,
irrigation.
what is good, healthy soil like? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What, what's the soil? What is it? What is that?
Good soil.
Yeah.
Um, Scientifically, if you look at the what is it called?
Uh-huh.
Microscope, you'll see all the bacteria, right? You'll see all
Wow.
the microbiome, everything is there. Like the whole soil food web is there.
Yeah.
Okay, but you can't go to every lab with the small amount of
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, you have like again, if you are very new or at the beginning of it, start small, start local, whatever, like you don't with the mulching and all this things, you don't need to go and buy things from anywhere. You can just like leaves, they fall everywhere, weed you'll get everywhere. You just have to use those as your mulch and as your green manure, as your, it's there's always a way to do things. It's nature.
Yeah.
Kitchen waste,
Love that.
everybody cooks food.
Yes. And the but like bad soil, what is it? Like what's the difference? Is it just like the good soil is like moist, or you know what I mean? Like what is the actual bad soil is
So
like dry?
there is no, like, I don't think so there's like a
Like can
specification
you
on
see
what
the
good
difference?
soil. Yeah, to see the difference. Because if you see in Maharashtra, the soil is red, right?
Yes, sure.
And if you go to Oroville, the soil is red. The iron in that soil is too much, but doesn't mean that's a bad soil.
Yes.
See? So it
Yeah.
depends on the place, it depends on the weather, it depends on the water quality and the water quantity and how the natural habitats are
Yeah.
there. Everything.
Yeah.
It's like the
Yes.
interconnectedness. See?
Yeah.
Like everything is
Yeah.
interconnected.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I just was wondering if there's like a visible difference,
As long
generally
as it's
speaking.
not as long as it's not like very dry.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to also ask because I feel like so I was ordering from this organic farm in London. Um, well, they were like trying, and basically, but obviously it was because I would get like the broccoli and the cauliflower, and they would just have these tiny little worms all over them, and like the broccoli florets were wild. Like I'd look inside, and it looked like there was. You couldn't see anything, but when you look, you just see there's like so much, and it's just like you can't get rid of it. At that point, it's too late, right? and it was on the green leafy veggies. Like there were only specific things that it was. And what is
Wet area?
second?
Is it wet? Because it sounds like it's very wet.
Oh yeah, I mean in London it is wet. No, but this is in the summer, so it wouldn't have been as wet as in the winter. But
Usually, yeah, they come when it's wet or it's little rain, the water.
uh,
So there's a way to get rid of it as well. There's a way to avoid it as well.
yes, this is what I'm asking you.
So in order to, first, it's always better to avoid it rather than to cure
Yes.
it. So you can do some, because cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, spinach, carrots, beetroot, these are all like monsoonish, but like in India, it is little monsoonish vegetable that reaches little towards the winter as well. But in order to avoid, you can start planting. We plant marigold in India, which is a natural insecticide, or you can plant any other crops so that they are attracted. We used to plant carrots because they used to get attracted to the carrot flowers and not go to the the main fruiting, because carrots are, it's very off season during that time and you're not going to get good fruit, but they will still grow for the insects. And the other thing is, when it starts to when they are little, you feel like they are the vegetables are growing, you can start adding ash, the wooden ash. So you can just start spraying those ash. They hate the ash. So that's
Wow.
what I'm doing. And the other thing is, I don't know if you can get those things in UK, in London, but neem water. So neem water is one thing. If you can't get neem water, neem essential oil is also can be used, but if you use neem essential oils, you need to have soapy water. So for which you can use like natural soap such as Rita or Brahmi, or all this natural soap that is not harmful for you if you use it, and just spraying it.
Mm. Nice, thanks for that. What you said? So with the carrots, do you so if you plant the carrots, the flowers they go to the flowers, but you can still eat the carrots, and the carrots are kind of fine. They're not gonna. Is that what you're
Yeah, yeah,
saying?
of
Yeah.
course. Of course. Like, but that's the thing, they're off season, so you might not get like a good fruiting of carrots.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Interesting. Yeah. This
whenever
is the thing. I feel like.
so one thing always you have to make sure whenever you're farming, if you're focusing on one vegetable, find the combination vegetables that goes with it, the companion vegetables.
What do you
If you're
mean by companion?
companion, as in, have you heard about three sisters? So three sisters are pumpkin, maize or corn, and any any kind of legume, any kind. So what happens when you plant these three? They are called three sisters for a reason, because they're companion to each other. So they support each other in a very complex way. So when a maize grows, it becomes like a tall stalk, and the legume needs, it's a climber, so it needs a support to climb up. But the legume is also a great nitrogen fixer, so it fixes the soil nitrogen. And whereas pumpkin, it has a big leaves, so it spreads on the soil top, it spreads on the surface of the soil, preventing the sun rays hitting the soil and keeps the moisture in. So they all support each other. Same way, there's three sisters. That is a very basic, like, known one. They're also called Chhe Naja. Chhe in Hindi is six. Naja is anaj, which is grains. There's 6 najas, there's 12 najas, there's 24 najas, there's 36 najas. So basically, all these 36 crops can be grown together, which supports each other. Like 12 also supports each other, 6 also supports each other. So you have to find the companion crops, which will help each other to grow and save itself.
Interesting numbers there.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and I had another question I was going to ask you now. Yeah, what about the whole thing about the seeds? Because how do you know if you're getting GMO seeds, like anywhere you are in the world? Like, how do you get the more non-GMO seeds?
Again, that's again thing. Like you have to know where you're getting your seeds from. Like in India, it's very easy to get
Love
non-GM
it.
seeds
That's
because
so
the
cool.
farmers community in India is very strong. So and the rule is also like India doesn't have that does it's a 0% GM tolerance. Like we have no tolerance towards GM crops. So it's only a policy that India has, one of the
It's
important
so
policies.
cool.
Yes,
Yeah.
but most of the countries don't. So that way we are very, lucky that our legal system has not
Yeah.
failed.
That way. Yeah. I mean, I learned that this is the same in Morocco. It's very cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Like it's a like the farmers can keep their own seeds, and some countries they can't.
Some countries you can't do that. Yeah, that's
They
wild.
can't they can't keep their seeds.
Yeah.
So you have to know where you're getting your seeds from, and
Mm.
best if you're traveling to these countries, if your country allows getting seeds from other countries, so you can take some from yeah, or other countries that they are where you can believe that where you have trust in the the community that are willing
Mm.
to give seeds.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sweet. Well, thank
Yes.
you for that. Yeah. Oh. Do you feel like, yeah, thank you so much for the conversation. If there is anything else you feel like you would like to share with regards to anything that we spoke about, um, feel free.
They have pretty much
Otherwise,
said everything. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, but
Love that.
I extend this invitation if you need help with any farming suggestions, any help, any
Yeah.
advice, I'm always there. You have my number. You can just like ask me, like, what do you think about this? I'll be more than happy and honored to help you with any kind of farming issues.
Bless bless you. Thank you. What
No,
about other people? Because you're not on Instagram. Is there any way other people can find you? You don't have a website, do you? No.
no, no.
No.
I don't
But
know.
are you on
Like,
Twitter? No.
no. Yeah, I think I'll have to create my Instagram account because I've been asked
At some
many,
point.
many, many times, like,
Really?
should like have, and I'm like, but that's my pride. Like, I do not want to have, but then I feel like I get more,
No.
but I'm considering it. Let's see.
Okay. Well, anyway, if at some point, let me know. I can just put
I
it in
will.
the comment there. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
sweet.
It
Les,
was
thank you so
lovely
much for
catching up
this
with you.
conversation.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode and to this podcast. We hope that you can gain many insights through the art of listening. If you haven't already, we would love it if you can follow us on YouTube, on Instagram, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if that feels right for you. We've also just launched our first online course, Awakening 101, An Angel's Guide to Navigating a Spiritual Awakening, which is led by me and is offered via donation. So if you feel called to that, then please dive in. It's available via our website. Thank you.